Welcome back to Shabby Shack Studio, dear friends. Today we are talking all things Bujo. And as always, I'm starting off my monthly Bujo plan with me with a watercolour project. This month's theme will be the Year of the Rabbit and Valentine's Day. So I have decided to create another video of my watercolour cards that have been really popular. And I decided to turn one of those into my cover as well. So killing two birds with one stone. And so if you want to see these daisies in more detail, the actual watercolour, I will link that below. It should be ready tomorrow, so it should be linked below for you when you're sitting down to watch this, plus all of the list of my supplies, my favourite tools, etc, etc. Okay, so I'm just starting off, and you can see I'm using scraps. This is actually my favourite Mont watercolour paper, which is a 300 GSM pad. It does have a few less sheets in it because good quality watercolour paper is a little bit more expensive. Having said that, the Mont brand carries really beautiful products at really affordable prices. So they are absolutely one of my go-tos, and I'm just never disappointed. Even in their watercolors, watercolor papers that are less expensive, I love the texture of them. Okay, so having said that, they aren't gifted to me. This is actually just truly coming from my own point of view and my own perspective. I've purchased all of these pads myself. So just in case you're wondering, I'm not an affiliate. It's just purely that I love these products. Okay, so I created there some daisies, some roses and some sweet little lilacs for a previous card. And when I cut them out, I had so much paper left over, and to me, I just hate waste. I love I live my life thinking of the environment. I always try to be responsible, recycle where I can. So this is no different. I couldn't see the point of throwing away all of this beautiful card when it could be used. So I just grabbed a whole lot of these scraps, and you're going to see me pick up different ones as I do different daisies from different aspects and different angles. And as you can see, there's more than enough paper there for me to get creative and really enjoy this is a very toothy texture, so it's a rough tooth paper, and I actually personally really love that texture in all the papers that I use. Okay, so let's chat colour. I didn't show me mixing the colours as such this month, mostly because I had the camera just in, I guess it cut off the palette a bit more than usual, so it was a bit squishy, so I apologise. This is what happens when you do everything yourself. You're the artist and the photographer and the editor, etc, etc. So I will just tell you, and they will be linked for you below. The daisies themselves are done with a yellow ochre, a sepia, and a sap green. As simple as that. And a little Paynes grey. Okay, don't forget the Paynes grey. I don't add white. I've just add lots and lots of water. I go in very loose brush strokes as always, as is my style, and then really layer the colour in very, very gently. So you can see my daisy there on the left drying, and as it does lose some of the colour, and that's completely normal. I will go back in wet on dry at the end and just add a little bit more kind of punchiness. I love painting white daisies, but this time I did decide to do them quite with yellow daisies, so they've got a bit more colour in them. But as you can see, I'm just trying to get that kind of very gentle, fragile feel in the little daisy. Obviously, sometimes they're in full bloom and sometimes they're drooping slightly. Sometimes they're a bud, as you can see. But as you can see, I painted loads of them. I didn't video all of it. It would have taken me ages to do that. So I'm just trimming them like I did on my previous videos, trimming the flowers so that I'll have them ready for the next step. I have to admit, they look so sweet all laid out there together, and you can really see that each individual flower has such character. I certainly don't follow a recipe that makes them all the same by any stretch of the imagination. I do have a very loose, very calm, relaxed style, and for me, that's my happy place, my watercolour. The next step is simply to sketch the envelope, ready for those to be filled with those plumes. I really love the idea of sort of it just being a card or a letter, that you open this letter and it's an abundance of blooms and love. So if you do want to see how I put this entire thing together, you will need to hit subscribe, or you'll need to click on that link below or go and find it on my channel to see all of the details, because it's a little bit complicated. So I thought I'll leave that for the full video, but I hope that you love what you're seeing, and you too agree that it would be so lovely to receive a card like that. Next up, I simply turned that lovely watercolour cardstock over and began creating my month at a glance. Okay, so I've added some brown craft paper just to protect, I don't want to give too much away, but the stems behind it. And I created, this month it is a little different. I actually created the little grid as separate boxes. I thought that would really be quite fun. And I put February here on the side, coming up the side. And I'm going to add some little daisies at the bottom, just like they were growing out of a flower bed or something like that. So this is all very simple. This is just using a favorite pigment liner that you can see. I'm using the 0.03, the 0.3, and just simply going over a very simple freehand pencil sketch that I created in advance. My month at a glance is actually a 2-page spread. However, I wanted to show you in real time the first page I create to give you an idea of how long it would take me to create something like this. You're welcome then to follow along as I create. Copy the font if that suits you. As you can see, it's just a very loose style. I have just a simple pencil sketch that I've done quite light, so it's easy to erase the lines at the end. I do actually go back and fill this in later. I just felt that when I was completed both pages that it needed a little bit more oomph. It needed some drama. So I coloured the word February in, and then it felt too heavy, so I decided to come back after I had been playing with the colour palette, and I did a little line detail and I just loved it. So I actually picked up my white gel pen and I came back and I added the line detail. So you're going to see that in just a moment when you see the still, but I wanted to share that because I didn't actually video that part to share with you. And if you're thinking about scale, so if you are creating in a journal that you have made yourself, just like I did, it's a very simple 3 by 3 centimetre, the boxes. If we're thinking imperial, it's probably 2 3/4 inches, if that helps. And the days of the week are simply a 1 by 3. Just gives me just enough room to put the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. Now I always check a calendar in the days before I do this part, and I like to run 1 month into the other, so you can see me adding the 30th of January and the 31st of January before I move into the days of the week for February. And you'll see me do exactly the same next month, so I always have a couple of days that will then run over to the following clan with me. So don't ever think that I've forgotten how many days there are. I certainly haven't. So there you can see the final design. The size and the scale and all of that repeats, so I didn't want to show you 2 pages and bore you to tears, but you could see then the white detail, the little lines that I created on the word February. Okay, so then I moved on to do my colour palette. This was really fun. I simply picked up my palette. You can see the colours from when I did the sunflowers, and I picked up the colours, the orange, the Quin rose, and I used my ochre again for my colour palette, just feeling that Valentine's Day seems to be always about blooms and the colours of love, so I wanted to keep it happy and cheery and fun. The colour palette is always one of my very favourite pages, and as you can see, I'm sharing this with you in real time as well, and it's very casual, it's very relaxed, my style. I'm happy to let the colours dry as they do. I'm happy to have them blending and playing. I can see that these are lightening up already as I'm working. It's very hot here in Australia, so the aircon is on, which is generally not my favourite when I am creating watercolour. So it does dry things a little bit faster, but it's just way too hot to not have the aircon on at the moment. Okay, so you can see me going back and adding wet into wet and then wet into dry, thinking where I'm going to add the next splotch of colour. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to add a banner and name it and add some hearts and all kinds of fun stuff. So obviously once that dries, we're going to come in and do that together.
Every time I see your face, I know I've come to the right place. And every time I see you smile, I can feel it for a long while. And I'm so excited to wake up, see your face with no makeup, see what trouble we can shake up. Everything is better with you. From the dawn till the day is done, we will do the best we can do. But I know best is yet to come. We have come so far so fast, but we know we're gonna make it, know we're gonna make it last. There is no one above you, everything I know of you makes it easier to love you. So I'll say it again, everything is better with you.
Okay, so you can see we're all dry now, and I do get lots of people ask me, and lots of people love banners. So this is me, again, freestyle hand, freestyle font, and I'm just coming in with the words color palette. I'm putting them inside a sweet little banner. I'm going to do that with you so you can see how easy it is. Banners sometimes can look a little bit tricky, but they're really very simple. So we're going to do that together, and you can see now that the colours have completely dried, that when I did a little bit of a splatter at the end, because I wanted this to look like literally like a colour palette that's been splashed around, and some of the colours dried, and because they came into that wet on wet, and it was wetter than I realised, and they've kind of died, they've kind of bloomed. But you know what, I like the perfect imperfection, so I left it exactly as it was. I didn't come back in and play anymore. I just embraced that imperfection and moved on to add the words, and I'm going to add those sweet little lines through the word colour, just for a little bit more drama. So I'm going to do that with you, which is exactly what I did with the white gel pen. So if you decide you want to do that with your black, it does look really quite interesting. I was really happy with how it came out in the end.
See what trouble we can shake up.
Okay, so there you can see my final piece, and I have picked up my favourite Kneadable eraser, and as you can see, it is so good to use on this paper. It can take away any pencil lines that are still there. Doesn't affect the watercolour below it, which is great. Doesn't remove any colour or be painful at all. And then I've just simply picked up my favourite pigment liner there, as you can see, and very loosely just adding in some little stripe detail on the lettering here, on the hollow parts of the lettering. Again, not using a ruler, it's all very relaxed, and I really love the little bit of drama it creates. So this is my finished colour palette, and I know it's going to make me smile all month long every time I'm turning the pages and I catch a glimpse of that. Before I move on to what I consider my quote page, but you could really create this and use it for anything. I love to have a page that I leave blank virtually. I create a sweet little detail and a pretty little picture that matches the style of the month, and then I leave the rest to write down important notes, celebrate my wins, write some quotes and things in there that I see, or music lyrics that I hear throughout the month. You can see me skipping through a little bit because my white gel pen, I did not warm it up before I started using it, and it is starting to run out. So you can see me kind of going back a few times there to fix up the lines. Overall, I have to say I don't normally have this issue with this pen. It runs beautifully. It's a Poplar Pilot one. I will link it for you below. It's fabulous on this black cardstock, which is always one of my favorites. I use this cardstock for my packaging and things as well, for my gifting range and my linen range. So it's definitely my go-to, and I use it in like a craft brown, there's a grey and the white that you see a lot in my journals, and this beautiful black. So there's my bunny celebrating the year of the rabbit. Wanted something, he's got a sweet little twitching heart nose and some little plumes in his fur at the back there, so I just felt that was a nice little touch. And then I decided to add some little lanterns. I just felt that it celebrates that Chinese New Year, and it was fun. So I've created that little string of lanterns there at the top, and I'm going to add in the words Year of the Rabbit and just some strings so that they're strung from one side there to the other. And then I'm going to leave the rest blank to fill in throughout the month with whatever comes to me.
Every time I see your face, I know I've come to the right place. And every time I see you smile, I can feel it for a long while. And I'm so excited to wake up.
Okay, so as you can see, there's lots of big empty space right there in the center. Something to write, your gratitude, something that you're thankful for, a big goal that you managed to accomplish, or whatever it is. This paper's terrific. You can see there that the white gel pen was giving me a bit of grief, and I wasn't happy with a line, but you can always pick up your pigment liner and just erase those little lines out, and they just disappear. So it's like magic liquid paper in black. Once again, I pick up my favourite Kneadable eraser, just take off any pencil that I'm not happy with. And then I just wanted to go back and add little candles in. I was just thinking whether or not I do something with a stamp or something like that, but I thought, you know what, it'll just be too much. So I've decided to put a sweet little candle inside each of the lanterns with a little glow.
Of you makes it easier to love you. So I'll say it again. Everything is better with you. From the dawn till the day is done. We will do the best we can do. But I know best is yet to come.
And there you can see the final piece, and I'm really looking forward to putting something wonderful on that cardstock this month, something to celebrate, I think. Okay, then I simply turned over and took advantage of my sweet black cardstock, and I thought, you know what, dude, I'm going to do the week at a glance a little different. It was fun doing it on the black cardstock. I decided I'm going to number the weeks, so kind of week 1, week 2, because I'm actually back to teaching, etc. So I need to keep an eye of what weeks which, so that I know when my students have assessments and things due. So this is something for me. If it's not something that suits you, then do what does suit you. Leave it out or change it to say something else. You could even put a little quote there or anything you like. Okay, so I've simply got week 1 here at the top, and then I'm going to put in my boxes for my days of the week as per usual. And I'm actually putting the date itself just in my white gel pen this month. Obviously, you can't use the Copic on this. You can see me cleaning up a little bit with my pigment liner. How wonderful is that? Makes it so much easier. I've actually done just a writing that's a little bit simple, a little bit different than usual. I just love how this is quite relaxed on the page, and little curly letters for the days, for the date. So this one was quite simple, but it really looks effective. So I'd love to see if you try this one for yourself. Okay, and there you can see the finished, or the first page of my weekly spread. Obviously I'll have quite a few of those, but I will mix them about so they're in different papers and things as well. That's the glory of my diary. And then last but not least, I'm actually doing the page keeper, which is actually my first page, but let's do it, mix it about, keep it fun, keep it real. Okay, so this is always features at the beginning of my month, and makes it easy for me to find one month to the other if I'm planning things or going back to see when I did something. Keeping with those sweet little daisy theme, and I'm going to add some little hearts in, again on my favourite cardstock. I do want to thank you as always for being here and supporting me in the channel. I hope that I inspire you when it comes to creating your journal, or even to start one. You don't need to have amazing sketching skills or painting skills. You just need to have a little bit of passion and love in your heart for getting creative. You also don't have to have expensive tools. I hope that I show you that all the time. You really could just use virtually whatever you have. Even if you had a white pencil, you could do something really amazing with some black cardstock with a simple white pencil. I have shown you guys some creative work on this cardstock with pencils, so do have a look below at some of the videos if that interests you. I hope you have a wonderful month. Year of the Rabbit, whether or not you're big on horoscopes, whether or not you're a big believer in Valentine's Day, or just celebrating love and some self-love every day. Whatever it is, I hope your February is super kind to you, and I look forward to having you back soon.